Hello everyone, in this video I'll be discussing the development of numerical simulations for the analysis of hemodynamics in a Marfan syndrome case study. My name is Jose Roberto Torres Andrade. I'm with the Department of Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering at New Mexico State University. You can contact me through my personal email. First of all, we'll discuss the background and motivation of this project. We need to start by defining what Marfan syndrome is. This is a genetic disease that weakens the connective tissue in the cardiovascular system, leading to aneurysms that later develop into dissections or tears in the walls of the aorta, which are fatal in most cases. The figure on the right by Espinosa et al. Showcases a dissection inside A and the tubular prosthesis that replaces the damaged tissue inside B. In order to prevent said event, one must study the early stages of the aneurysm and attempt to predict what zones are more likely to tear in order to conduct a surgical intervention. One proposal by Simao et al. Is analyzing the hemodynamics of the flow leading to the dissection in order to seek changes in the blood flow that may negatively impact the walls of the aorta. For this, they conducted a study using computational fluid dynamics, or CFDs, and observed anomalies in the streamlines and wall shear stress, both caused by the aneurysm. The figure on the left shows the streamlines at the aorta of a healthy patient. This will become relevant when I show the streamlines formed by the presence of the aneurysm. Similar efforts have been pursued by other authors. For instance, Ladisa et al. Performed a comparative study between 5 patients of aortic cortation, which is the opposite of an aneurysm. This is when the walls of the aorta are shook. You can see what I mean by looking at the aorta of said patients in the bottom figure. They found that after the treatments, patients had the risk of late complications caused by abnormalities in the wall shear stress. Regarding the state of CFDs in cardiovascular medicine in general, a study comparing the simulation softwares of OpenFOAM and SimVascular showed the importance of improving the non-newtonian and boundary condition models. These limitations might be the reason for Pons et al. Findings, which show that FSI or fluid structure interactions outperform CFDs at MRI data prediction. The present research shares goals with the aforementioned authors. To be perfectly clear, the intention of this work is to offer flow analysis that aids in the prevention of dissections for Marfan syndrome patients. The selected CFD tool is OpenFOAM, of course factoring the considerations of previous authors. Now let's talk about the model, its grid, and the boundary conditions. This model was taken from Whitson et al.'s Open Repository of Vascular Models, and it belongs to a 70-year-old patient of Marfan syndrome. You can see the aneurysm highlighted by the red region. The meshing was done with a snappy hex mesh for about a total of 300,000 cells, achieving an overall current number lower than 0.1. Of course, my delta T was very low. It was 0.000005 seconds. But I only simulated 1.02 seconds, as shown by the flow rate on the bottom left. The patches of the domain and its boundary conditions are as follows. For the descending aorta, the conditions of an outflow are recreated, where the velocity has a zero gradient, allowing for free velocity flow, while for the pressure, the 3-element Windkessel model is employed. Said model will be explained in the following slide. These outflow conditions are repeated for the left and right subclavian arteries and right common carotid artery. The ascending aorta is named as inflow, and its boundary conditions are the aortic flow rate turned to velocity by dividing it by the area. The pressure boundary for the inlet must be zero gradient, and the walls will of course affect the no-slip condition on the flow. The mesh can be seen in the animation to the right. Regarding the 3-element Windkessel model, this is a realistic approximation of the conditions at the cardiovascular system. This is achieved by solving the dynamics of a 2-resistor and 1-capacitor electrical system, where the resistors are stand-ins for the proximal and distal resistances, while the capacitor is the arterial compliance. The equation added to the CFD solver is shown in the middle of the slide. as well as the values for the resistances and compliance for each patch, which were taken from Duronio and Mascio. We can start discussing the results of the simulation. Blood is arguably the most important non-Newtonian fluid. For this reason, selecting a good non-Newtonian model is necessary. I decided to use the Bird-Carew model, as this is already implemented in OpenFOAM's library and is quite robust. The values for each coefficient were taken from Yogos-Goran and Liu, and by observing the viscosity contours, the recirculation caused by the aneurysm is apparent. A stagnation of blood flow is also observable and is most likely problematic for the patient, so being able to model its behavior accurately is very important. This recirculation is also shown in the velocity. Here the recirculation is seen at the last stages of the systole, when the streamlines group up within the dilated regions. This will cause velocity gradients, which will be reflected in the pressure field and in the wall shear stress. Another important note is the presence of the boundary layer that can be seen in the outflow patches. However, it's important to mention that the right common cartoid presents significantly slower velocity than the other patches. This will need to be studied further. The values for the pressure are within the expected values for aortic blood flow. However, the dipping pressure at the center of the aneurysm is abnormal. This is how the recirculation is being sustained after the peak of the systole, which occurs at 0.17 seconds. At 0.9 seconds, the pulse already ended and is about to start over, which is the reason of the stronger dipping pressure. Finally, we can begin to discuss the main focus of this work, the wall shear stress. First of all, we need to mention that this was computed through OpenFOAM's function wall shear stress, which uses the symmetric stress tensor and the wall normal vectors. In the animation, it's quite noticeable that additional oscillatory stress is caused by the recirculation in the aneurysm. This work presumes that if a dissection is to occur, it will be caused by zeta stress, and it will occur in the highlighted regions. Complementing this analysis with material properties of the tissue would result in a temporal prediction of the tear. This will be explored in future work. These findings are consistent with the state of the art. This concludes the scope of this work. These are my references. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so much for watching.